Good day, everyone. This is Dr. David Phelps of the Freedom Founders Mastermind Community and Dentist Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Today, really going to have a great conversation with a good longtime friend of mine who is somebody that I truly admire as somebody who is I'm just going to use his word. He's a trailblazer. He is a trailblazer, and he attracts other trailblazers. By trailblazing, I'll let him talk a little bit more about it, but we're in a world today. We have to look at the world. There's so much change going on, so much change we've all experienced in this last year, particularly. There's going to be massive change ahead. And who are the trailblazers? How can you be a trailblazer in your own life? How can you be one to be the leader of your family, your team, your staff, your company, your community, the people you want to serve? How do you get above all the chaos, right? And there's a lot of there's a lot of people that are depressed today because of the changes that came on so suddenly. So I don't want to get too deep into the woods here, but this is a really important conversation. So my guest today is Mr. Tony Wroblewski. Tony, sir, how are you?
Excellent. Good morning there down in Texas, my friend. Good to see you. And
it's always good to see you. I think back to, when we were traveling more. You've always been traveling because it's what you love to do, because you like to interact with people right there on the scene, whether you're speaking to a group of people or you're coaching or teaching, companies, in the areas of your expertise. But we just talked about being there. And I remember back when we used to travel more, we saw each other on a somewhat regular basis, whether it was planned or sometimes it was just spontaneous. Walking down the street.
I got to tell you this. I remember I have a picture of you and I in Mackinac Island.
That's right.
Completely random. One of the most difficult places to get to in the U.S. And I'm like, hey, there's David Phelps with my daughter. And I will never forget the synchronicity or God wink of that night. Literally, I'm like, oh, there's David Phelps. And I was speaking for you guys a month later.
That's right.
So I thought, what are the odds of that interaction? So here we are.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Well, just give people a little bit of background. Tony is the best-selling creator of the Mind Capture book series. And I'll have Tony explain a bit about Mind Capture. His new book, actually, we're going to talk about his new book. One of his recent books, I mentioned about being a trailblazer, is Trailblazers, Leadership Lessons from 12 Pioneers Who Beat the Odds and Influenced Millions. That came out in 2018. He's also an in-demand keynote speaker, strategic business coach, and a global event promoter. His work has been featured in various media outlets ranging from Bottom Line Magazine, the Detroit Free Press, the Fox TV Network, ABC, CNN Radio, NPR, and Entrepreneur Magazine Radio. Tony is a 1994 graduate of Western Michigan University with a degree in marketing, and has also been a faculty member and instructor with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and CEO Space International. His core expertise and message is designed to help people capture more minds and profits. So, Tony, just give our audience a little bit of your history and your involvement, maybe a few of the twists and turns and the pivots that have taken you from early life to where you are today, and what makes you tick today. And then we'll jump into the new book, which is going to be exciting.
Awesome. Well, Dave, I think first of everything is thank you for everyone listening and the opportunity to come back on. I never take time for granted. So the core teaching, what I've been doing the last 15, 20 years is how do you get people's attention, or I call it mind capture. We're in literally a 9-second attention span world. So Sally Hogshead, one of the trailblazers in my second to last recent book, when I interviewed her, has the data to back it up. I believe it's even shorter now, David, because of social media, Zoom effect, phones. We are bombarded with at least 5,000 to 7,000 messages per day in North America. So the core teaching 20 years ago, which started the first book, and Dan Kennedy, our mutual friend, wrote the foreword to that. I didn't know it would go crazy like this the last 15 years, David, where the attention spans would get shorter. The information would not just double, it would multiply tenfold. We're hit with more information today in a 24-hour period in the U.S. than most people in the 1850s saw in their entire lifetime. So that is a very big challenge for all of us as marketers. I know a lot of your audience, many of them I've met at some of the events that you had me on the stage. So hello to them and Happy New Year. But some of the new folks, essentially, you are a marketer first. It's a shift. And again, you and Dave and I, we could preach all day to each other's choirs. The best marketers with a great value proposition in the right audience will do better. Correct. So it's a constant struggle of getting the attention factor. It's a little easier now because people are, as we tape this, sort of stuck. They're more in confinement. They're in a lockdown situation in half the U.S. states. So people are at home more. And there's some interesting things you can do to get their attention, but you've got to be thinking, hustling, and working. AKA, you got to be marketing, David. So that's really the evolution. 7 books in now with the new one, Positive Disruption. The evolution of the writing and teaching and philosophy, it's by having good mentors, a constant thirst to learn and question everything, David.
Yes,
And
yes.
again, you are who the average of the 5 people. And I know Zig has been given credit, or Jim Rohn,
Mhm.
but in business, that's particularly important to think about. I'm hiring on a new coach this year. I'm going to shuffle the deck again. And I coach people like you do, but I go to other coaches to help me. And I believe if you have a coach, they should be coached by someone above them. Or an-
Exactly.
So this to me, to try to surmise the introduction there, it's been an interesting process. And I look at it every day like Les Brown taught me directly. You just got to be hungry. And it's not a greed perspective. It's a hunger for knowledge. And if you really believe in what you do, you want to help people. That to me is sort of the benevolent marketer, is when you're passionate and you really believe in it, people would be drawn to you. So there's my 2 cents.
I love what you said about you have to question everything. Because it's so easy, I think. And today, as you said, there's so many messages that are coming out, and people are just looking for some guidance, right? Everybody's looking for, like, who's the person, or who do I follow, right? Whether it's social media, otherwise, who can lead me to my promised land? And there's no such one person. You have to be
Correct.
discerning. We have to be so discerning. It's so hard to do today. And the way I find, just as you said, is I have to surround myself with people like you who can help keep me sharp. And if I'm not, for some reason, asking the right questions, I'm not really digging into to my actions or my ideas, which they flow, a thousand a minute, right? But who's going to, right? I mean, but got to have somebody around us. As you said, a coach, and you got to have your tribe, your circle of five, whatever you want to call it, that you reach out to or you're in contact with on a regular basis, because we all need that. I don't care how smart you are, how hard working you are, how much perseverance you have. Those are all great traits. But gosh, if you're on the wrong path, just because you can't see the forest for the trees, what good has that done you, right? So I love that. Question everything. I guess I could say this. I'm a man of faith. I know you are as well. And um, even when I sit in church, the senior pastor, who knows way more about the Bible than I do, I still, in the message, I'm still just listening for little things. My wife can't stand it sometimes when I'll get in the car and say, shut
Yep.
up. But I have to do that. I have to question. It's not a lack of respect, not at all. No, I respect anybody who studies something well. I don't have to agree with them, but I respect them for their study in it, and whether I agree or not, but I still want the right to question. So
Yeah. Well, I think we both are in alignment there. Is I've always been the troublemaker in the pew. It's like, at one point I entertained for about a year becoming a priest back in grade school, because I went to
uh,
Catholic school and then I switched to a public high school. But the point is, I knew early on, I'm like, I don't know if I could fit into the mold of that, because I was asking too many questions. No disrespect to the Catholic
right.
faith. I just knew at an early age the inquisitiveness in not following the structure all the time would get me in trouble, David. So maybe marketing, his path for me is a great extension of teaching, because I am allowed to test, to create, to try new things, to get feedback.
Yes.
And I look at it right now in the environment we're in early 21 taping this, to go it alone as a business entrepreneur or marketer is foolish. People are going to go, well, that's because you coach people and you're trying to sell books. Okay, maybe. However, this economy with all the radical changes, and they're radical. You can't, I'm not playing politics.
Right.
There's things we've never seen. You have to have that good team around you to lift you up, to push you to, and to give you constructive feedback. I'm very careful not to shoot down getting negative feedback, because to me, if it's from the right person, it helps me to get better, to serve more. And I look for patterns, David. If someone keeps saying the same thing over and over, I say, well, I might want to rethink this, because I'm too biased and I'm too close to it. And if several key people say, have you thought about this? That's probably a clue.
You're so right. You're so right. We all have this you know cognitive dissonance, right? That's what we're talking about, right? And we always look for people or media that affirms our bias, wherever it
Correct.
came from, but the smart people, as you said, we still want to keep plugged in with people who might have a different point of view, and let them, I don't say attack you, we don't want them to attack, but let them attack your thinking, your prejudices, to make sure, iron sharpens iron. And
Correct.
I want to be open enough in my life to realize that what I believed yesterday or last year, 10 years ago, and maybe still believe today, maybe there's a reason to change some of that. And you have to be wise enough to be open to changes and not think you know it all just because you lived an X number of years, and you've experienced this or that. You can't get to that point. So, so well said, my friend. So well said. So I guess based on the fact that you've always been inquisitive and kind of a disruptor in your own right, it makes you probably not a very good employee. I just quick, just for our audience. How long were you ever an employee back in the day? Were you, how long did that last?
That's a
Were
great
you
question. I don't get that often. Well, I worked in telecom sales for almost 10 years.
okay?
And in my early 30s, I went into the advertising space, kind of like a small version of Mad Men, the ad agency business, for 3 years as a VP of sales at a small agency. So, working for the man for 9, 10 years in telecom taught me a lot: organization, recruiting, sales goals, etc. The challenge was when I went into advertising, it was like, oh my gosh, this is like a cornucopia where I can try crazy stuff, where I can do fun mailers, I can leave crazy voicemail messages and have the license to do it because people are like, we want your creativity. So it was probably a 12 or 13-year run where I worked for someone. The difference now is, as an employee, my corporate clients, it's striking that balance, David, where I am employed by them is more like a contractor.
Right.
But I also know that there's lines I can push up against and lines where they're paying me to
Yes.
act as if I'm almost an off-the-shelf marketing guy or a trainer.
Right.
So it's changed, but I can pick and choose more who I want to work with, which is a blessing. I'm grateful for that.
Exactly. Tony, one more question, and I want to get into the new book. Was there any particular turning point, defining moment for you in your life, an epiphany, a wake-up call that substantially change your direction? Not that you haven't always had the entrepreneurial spirit within you. I know that's been with you since you were a kid, but is there anything that you can relate to the audience? Because I think a lot of people, either they're going through some things right now, or they've been through some, or they will go through something. And I think it's always great to talk to people who I know are, again, trailblazers and have more than survived. They've thrived through these turns, but during the time that you're going through the turn or the moment, it's not very comfortable. Anything you could share?
Well, something that hits me right away is, let's go back to March of 2020. So not too far in the past, 9, 10 months ago.
Yep.
When everything started to shut down, particularly here where I'm based in the Midwest, it's pretty much still locked down, David. All of a sudden I was getting calls like a cascade effect over 3 days. We can't bring you in. We're going to cancel. We're going to delay. So within about 4 days, most of my revenue was shut down for speaking and touring as a writer. I love to go out and tour. It's a little bit unique. I enjoy the road. So all of a sudden I'm like, what are you going to do now? And I remember a conversation with my CPA saying, look, you've got to really rethink how you're going to ride this out, because speaking still, live events aren't going, David. They're very rare. It's like the white unicorn. Oh my gosh, a live event.
Yeah.
So I believe they'll come back. But here's what I had to do. I had some dark nights of the soul in March and April, just sitting down, and I talk about it in the new book, praying, walking, meditating, asking God, not begging him, like, where do you want me to go? And I know I have some marketing talents I could pivot into the cliche of taking a corporate job. Nothing wrong with that. But I thought, no, you be patient with this. Meditate on it. Do some self-reflection, because I was kind of like going, boy, is this it? It's very troubling when I would say 75, 80% of my revenue disappeared within a week. Now I had some reserves built up. However, I was in a position as sort of the lone wolf with a couple people on my team to ride this out 9 months to a year.
Right.
So it taught me that, okay, this is where your marketing chops are going to have to also come into play. And what's a project? Here's the question I asked in late March and early April. What's something you've wanted to do the next few months that you've been pushing off? So the entire genesis of Positive Disruption, the new book, was written because I said, if you don't do it now, there's a strong chance you're going to get busy again when things turn back on, that you won't go back to do the book. So it was very much a aggressive 90-day goal. I remember it was Mother's Day of 2020. I said it in front of a few people. I said, here's the goal, and off we went. So it's one of those things that, not everything is perfect. The bios are great, David. I appreciate the introduction, but through there's usually valleys of intense adversity, business-wise, which most of us have gone through, especially in 2020, now in 21, and you go through personal storms or adversities. So there's other things that were happening last summer as the book was being written quickly to get it done that I'll never talk about. I have children that were having issues with the lockdown. family members, relationships. I think everyone that's gone through 2020 realized it strained every component of society, especially the family and work structures, David.
Yes, yes.
Well, there's a lot of external pulling and people trying to, lean on us as leaders or trailblazers to help them. But I also ask the question for your audience is, what are you doing to recharge your batteries? If you're like the leader, which many of you are listening, your energy is like a dying cell phone. If you don't recharge it with your faith walk, with your health, your nutrition, breathing, meditation, getting a massage, whatever you need to do to recharge you, you can't give out as much because you will burn out. And this is a conversation with a lot of my clients and leaders. They're like, we're kind of burned out some days, David. So going back to your question, that was a major turning point. I call it a redirect, was in April, May of last year to say, you've got to really think, how bad do you want it? What do you want to do going forward, especially with everything being uncertain?
So you had the project was something that's been on the shelf for a while.
Mhm.
Now, so we're talking again about the new book, Positive Disruption. I've got it right here in my hands. Thank you for sending me the personal copy.
You're welcome.
So that was a project that was on the shelf. Did you actually have the title? Was that already set as well, or give me a little bit more of the backstory that prompted you to, okay, I'm gonna take this on now? How had you been leading up to it? Because as you said, we've all had and will continue to have disruption and adversity in our lives. The pandemic was a major one, it affected everybody, so it prompted you to go ahead and move forward. But what had led you up to thinking about writing about disruption?
This is the first time I've been asked that question, and I'll reveal this. The title of the book was based on an interview with Dan Kennedy when he
Really?
interviewed me for Diamond several years ago. In the
Yeah.
transcript, I remember I said something. I said, I like to positively disrupt. And Dan goes, "Ooh, I like that."
Hmm.
I don't know why that sparked back in, but here's a big believer as a marketer, you have to have a great title.
Yes.
And I outlined out some rough sketches of the next few books. It's like a long-term goal, David, is to have 10 books written by age 50. So it's an aggressive, what they call a BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. So I went back through my notes and said, what are the next 3 outlines of books that you're looking to write anyway? And a book on quotes and questions came in that I'd outlined about a year earlier. Then I thought, you got to make it different. The title is everything, David. I wonder where we learned this. So for some reason, I don't know if it was walking about a week or two later, I went, oh my gosh, if you had Dan Kennedy stop in the middle of an interview and go, ooh, I like that, there's a clue.
Yes.
So we got to give the ultimate no BS guy a little credit there, because it was the spark of an interview talking about, I think, the Trailblazer book. And it had come up where about, what do you do what you do? So I've never shared that till now. The genesis of the title was an interview with Dan Kennedy. So there's the philosophy behind it. It was a great conversation.
And I think a key thing is you talk about meditating, walking, taking time. Most of the world today lacks the ability or doesn't prioritize enough that time, that soul searching time where you can think back about events, conversations you've had with people, things that happened, because there's always something there. But we go so fast in life, we're just streaming across the surface so fast that we lose that opportunity. And again, some of what is in the book, is this disruption, as you said, the shutdown, the time at home. There's a lot of positives that came out of that, and many. So let's get into the book. Let's get into the book a little bit. Talk about how you want readers to use the book. What's the premise here? Because it's a quote in a question. So how did you develop it, and how do people get the most out of it?
Well, I think if anything is the book is, I'll tee it up as I'm sort of the lighter of the match. I'll light the match.
Mhm.
Reader gets it. It's been fascinating to see the reviews and feedback, David. What people are doing with us is I'm the conduit that says, all right, the book is really about you. Now, again, I enjoyed writing the book, as I mentioned in the beginning. There's only about 10 or 12 pages of me writing the genesis and why it was important to do it. But once you get to the day, it's a quote and a question to shift your perception. It's a journal. So imagine the components of a great quote, a provocative question, and a journal on each daily page. So it's a fusion, David, of things that I've been doing for 15, 20 years as a personal development guy, that I said, how do we make it different? There's a lot of great quote books. There's a lot of devotionals. How do we have fun with it with our own, unique way of looking at it? But also make it where the reader goes, wow, I'm getting hooked on this as a daily habit. So a couple quick examples of what we're hearing in the field. I have people texting me, Facebook messaging me. You've seen, they post pictures with the book. And they're like, look, we've sat down, for example, a family, and we every night with our family, we talk about the quote and the question at the dinner table. David, I didn't see that. I had no clue people were going to take it and use it that way. A lot of people use it in their morning journal. They use it before they go to bed. They complement it with their other journals or their Jesus Calling book, their devotionals. So it's been fascinating and kind of humbling, David. I'm a marketing guy, and the book is more about self-reflection, especially in a year of 2020, which was massive social disruption. So I've said in other interviews, 2021 to me is when I hit the road again. I've got speaking gigs live coming up before we started taping. Is I want it to be a year of positive disruption. We can focus on all the garbage and the trash and the drama and the gossip. That's easy. But if we look back inward, David, and we self-reflect, people call it the Holy Spirit, the other self, Napoleon Hill, however you define it, you have that great intuition. When did we stop listening to our intuition, David? And that's the genesis of how the book was written, because I would sit underneath the tree, literally, it's in the book, for an hour or two each day and just say, turn your brain down, have fun with this, and enjoy the process. Easily the most fun book, the quickest book I've ever written. Again, people think, well, there's not a lot in here, but the questions was probably the trickiest part, Dave.
Oh, I'll bet. Yeah.
Thousands of quotes to culminate into what would be, a good feel that I enjoyed and that the audience may enjoy in that order. Let me repeat what I enjoy and what the audience enjoys. So there is that creative tension you have to have as a writer to make sure that you like it, but the audience can also see value. And then the questions, that was the tricky part, because we had 90 days. It was like, hurry up. And you go back and reread the questions. I had a great editor, Kelsey Turek, who's on my team now much more. And she went through and said, look, some of the questions are redundant. Go back and revise them. Go back again. And when you have a great editing team on your side, especially with a tight deadline, David, the book you're holding normally takes 9 months to 12 months minimum to pull off what we did in 4. That's not me. I'm the conductor of the train, but the people on the train were phenomenal to get that done under the speed of the deadlines we set to get it out, especially by Christmas time and year end, which we're taping now. So that's sort of my quick 3 or 4 minute answer there. But these are good questions I'm typically not asked.
So I'm just looking at today. Today we're recording on January 6th, 2021. Open the book. The quote is, "You adapt, you overcome, you improvise." Written by Gunny Highway. The question you posed is, for a major challenge you're currently facing, have you explored several options to solve it? How many people today, thinking about that, reading that, would certainly identify problems, dilemmas that they're in right now? And the quandary we get into very quickly is, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do? And just starting to brainstorm and realize that there are different ways you can go, and then you can take those thoughts, those ideas to other people, and then get some feedback, and then start making some movement, some momentum to actually start moving forward and not being stuck in that place. But that's just one example in the book how this book's being used. And I love the fact, and I agree with you. I think it's a great book to also, as a leader, whether it's your family or your team, your staff, what a great way to start a day if you're getting conversation started, or the end of a day when you're recounting what happened during the day, and you've got your family, your kids, your spouse, to have a conversation point. It's lacking today, as we well know, in the attention deficit, fast running society. We have all these conversations are just not happening, and what a great chance to reinvigorate that amongst the people you care about and the people you want to have conversations with and go deeper with, like we haven't maybe been doing in the past.
David, this to me at this marker in time was the greatest compliment to get in the book. My daughter Taylor's 21. Like everyone else, she's going through challenges, as all teenagers and college students are. About a week ago, she was in my office. She goes, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to start the book on January 1st. I'm in my chair floored. I'm like, oh my gosh, really? And I started it on January 1st. I'm holding it up here as we're doing the Zoom. It's been fun to go through it. Now I can look at it and say, bring fresh eyes to the work that was created. And now you can implement it too, to be a student of your own work. So that to me, I'm extremely honored and grateful when people tell me the stories, but to have one of your own kids say, I'm going to do this. I'm like, wow. Okay, cool. Thank you, God. I didn't see that happening because I'm dad. You know what I mean? And sometimes I don't know anything until 10 years later.
Exactly. No, that's really good. Well, last thing I want to just bring back before we close down today, Tony, is the other thing you just mentioned was having a great team, people around you. You are the conductor. You are a visionary. You've been a visionary all your life. As visionaries, it's hard for us to be finishers. It's really, really hard. We like to set things up. We like to orchestrate. We like to, you know, get ready, but have somebody else do the work, right? I mean, it's just
It's real, David. It's real.
it's total freedom. So I know we've got a lot of people that are listening today that are in that position, you know, in their businesses or the passions they have in life. And I know for myself that a lot of my younger years, I didn't really wasn't able to express really fully who I was until I kind of granted myself permission. I don't grant myself permission, but I left I left I left the role that I think I had let society indoctrinate me with simply because I had a certain propensity to be able to, well, let's just face I could take tests well and regurgitate information. Big deal. But that's what gets you through school, right? And so people anoint you, oh, you're smart. That means you should be. Oh, you should. Hate that word, right? Yep. You should. And so, you know, a lot of us get kind of railroaded into that because of some propensity we have for certain skill sets, whatever it may be. You may be creative, you may be theatrical, you may be a great speaker. Well, great. Those are great skill sets, but allowing society to dictate, then this is the box you fit in. Oh my gosh, it's such a bad place to be. And I want people listening today who are the visionaries, the leaders, the owners, the people who are inspiring other people to take the opportunity to explore who they really are and to have the ability to express themselves. Having that mission, you know, is what draws great people to you. When you are excited about something, when you want to help people in a certain way, you want to solve problems for a certain group of people, that's what excites other people. And I think we're in a world today where people are really looking for the value, the mission, the people who are doing something, not just trading time for dollars, not just building a company to have big revenues or EBITDA. You got to have that, but I mean, what's the real purpose behind this? Who are we really helping? When you can start to express that and to the people around you, there's nothing like it. And then that's how you get to grow. And I think that's the fun part. And that's who you are all the way, my friend.
Well, thank you. A couple of things I gathered, your enthusiasm. I was watching you I could see your wheels turning. We're zooming here. I know there's a podcast component, but your energy went way up. And you said something near the end of that, fun. And one of the requirements going forward now, I believe, for organizations that want to adapt and improvise, overcome, that's from the movie Heartbreak Ridge. Clint Eastwood said that quote for the day, is you have to have fun. It's contagious. People are drawn to it. Humor is the great, medicine of the world. That and music, okay? A great song and laughter and comedy get people to change their emotional states. Some of it sounds a little Tony Robbins. I call him the other Tony R. David. It's true. And we call it here where the office is at, we call it the book factory. It's all decked out in cool Christmas stuff. There's books everywhere. People come by and buy books like, this is really fun and really cool. That's by design. And I think if anything, looking back, the lesson also in the rearview mirror of 20 is everything got completely, in essence, almost started over in many industries. So there's a fresh slate and you get to design your own life. So I want to throw this out as just a strong opinion. I've been interviewed a lot about the book. And there was an interview I did last week for a gentleman in Remax, okay? And he asked, well, why is personal development so important? I said, why not? I hope you are developing yourself personally along multiple lines, because if you're being programmed by society and the internet, you're going to have a lot of issues because it's built on doubt, division. Doubt and division is what they sell. So unless you proactively override the software, one of my daily IMs, and I do a journaling every morning along with a book and some other devotionals, is I am grateful for today, and I'm daily programming my mind for success. And if I miss it in the morning, I can tell I'm off. And sometimes I'll go back at lunchtime and do it, or at nighttime. But you have to daily program your mind also for gratitude, David. And it cures a lot of things. Now, there's a pragmatic side of me. That's my Dan Kennedy training, okay? However, I don't want to lose that 7-year-old that likes to create, have fun, and laugh and do a promotion where these CEOs call me laughing. This isn't to boast to your audience. They're like, God, this is funny. Who are you? And it starts conversations, and it's so unique. The marketplace is begging for something different. That's Jay Abraham, one of my other mentors.
Yes.
They're silently begging to be led because most marketing and messaging is god-awful boring. And if you can have some fun and not be afraid to get shot with a couple doubters and haters, move forward, my friend.
Right.
It's a new year, new attitude. I know these are cliches, But 20 taught us that everything can change like in a day, completely change. And no one got, I would say, disaffected by this. If you see Buffett and other people on television or in interviews saying, hey, this changed everything, then to deny it is a lie. So how do you want to reimagine and direct your business going forward in the 21? That's the question.
That's a great question, Tony, and I 100% agree. It's a clean slate. Take advantage of it for sure. Well, Tony Rudleski, so much fun. Always converse with you and just catch up. If people want to, obviously they can buy the book. Where? Best place to get the book?
Well, the easiest thing to do is I'm pretty active on social media with our team. So if they go over to mindcapturegroup.com, that's our core website, David, mindcapturegroup.com. But if you look up my name on Facebook or Instagram, we have Mind Capture as a business page. We have a direct link for the book. And there's a quick marketing thought here. We're bypassing Amazon. We're directly shipping to the customer or the client. And because we have a lot of corporate groups buying 100, 200 copies.
Right.
And a lot of people want the books customized. And I'm not on the road right now as much. So we can set up our systems where I can pull back and have fun, at the book factory, we call it. So we have more of a direct access you can't find on Amazon yet. That could change, right. But we've retooled where you can get it directly. Just Google my name or Mind Capture on Facebook or Instagram, and we can go from there.
Great. We'll put that in the show notes. Great book. I think people should definitely at least get a copy, but when you get one, you're going to want to share it. And I think it's a great disruptor in a positive way for the new year. Thank you, Tony.
That's the goal, my friend. Take care.